Hello and welcome to this week's episode of Talking Skritt. I'm your host John, better known as Dale. We're on Yak Spin, and we have a fantastic show for you. An overview of the rewards featuring the gem store. PvP updates are coming, and an unexpected guest host for the Arena Living Story reveal, and much more. But first, let me introduce you to my fellow host. He is a moderator over at MMO Champion and host of Zero to Hero on this very channel. With August 30th, they are looking like they are pulling out all the stops, but will they be able to walk the talk and we get honest trailers and other news? Say hello to Jim.
Maybe.
Very middle of the road answer. You should work for Arena. Okay, and he streams over on Twitch where he answers the age-old question. With the new 2v2, is he looking for the ultimate challenge where he protects a complete PvP noob? Say hello to Age.
That sounds like you're volunteering for PvP, Dale.
Yeah, if I have to not do anything, sure.
We'll see. We'll talk.
Oh God, no! Did I just? Oh crap!
You did. You just did.
Let's. This was still pre-show. I still have all that up. That didn't count.
I have it on camera, and I have multiple witnesses via chat.
No. Dang it!
Mark it. Bamboozled.
I don't know. I just don't play PvP.
Don't hawk your way out of it. Just continue.
I just don't play PvP. Kind of like how Greg Miller doesn't play PC games in general.
And
why would I be talking about Greg Miller? That's just a weird thing to be just randomly talking about. Well, funny enough, we talked about last week the August 30th announcement of they're going to be talking about the next chapter of the Living Story. Like what is it? Right before PAX. So it basically what seems like going to be the next thing. We've kind of heard that they want to do expansion like features. We talked about all that kind of stuff last week, but this week they announced that Greg Miller was going to be hosting the Arena Live Living Story reveal on August 30th, which is a very interesting choice because, yeah, he is a very console, mostly I think PS4, but I'm sure he's expanded to other consoles as well. But I know that was always his go-to, especially with, I think, Final Fantasy stuff. But it's just very interesting because I don't really think he's ever, if he just tried Guild Wars 2, I don't think he's ever really kept up with it as far as I'm aware, since it is a PC game.
Well, I mean, like he's hosted other stuff before. Like he hosted that EA Play segment. He's hosted like this Superstar Showdown with like WWE Superstars. So like I think it's just like a hosting gig in general.
And yeah, for anybody that's wondering, Greg Miller is an internet personality. Was an editor and host of IGN. Right now, he's with Kind of Funny, who is also basically partnered with Rooster Teeth. I'm sure people are familiar with Rooster Teeth, Red versus Blue, loads of other stuff. Ruby now. I think they just had a thing on Shark Week, so they're moving up in the world. Kind of Funny's been doing loads of stuff. So, but yeah, they did say. I think Greg Miller also posted on Twitter that 6 years after interviewing Guild Wars 2 on Up at Noon, which was the segment on IGN, he's excited to announce that he's hosting the reveal of its next Living Story World arc on August 30th. If you'll be in the Seattle area, come celebrate with him. And that is what I think is interesting about this, and kind of leads me to think. And I post this on Twitter, kind of getting the idea out there is. First off, it's like they're really pulling out all the stops. Like I think they're checking all the boxes of expansion like announcement. Hopefully, like we said last week, hopefully they can deliver on expansion like features, which was kind of that mentality that they are trying to achieve.
If you're renting out an entire theater for an hour, I would assume you would have something that the people would generally like. Last time they they rented out an entire theater was for a hot announcement.
Mhm.
So it has to be, something people are looking forward to.
And that is what, and like chat's saying, like some of the biggest responses. But yeah, I think you get that anytime. I mean, we were talking about that when Inks was on 2 weeks ago, where when people were talking about, um, wow, Mighty Teapot leaving, and people were like, "Who's that?" A lot of people did that with the Greg Miller thing, which I think some are trolling, but also, I mean, I think especially in the case of Greg Miller, like we said, he hasn't really done any content related to Guild Wars 2 for 6 years. And I think even then, it was maybe a 10-minute interview about their first year in like how Guild Wars 2 was doing for the first year. So, not, not a huge amount of stuff, but
Yeah.
But I'm curious if, kind of like last week when we talked about the Guild Wars 2 narrative Q&A, and people were asking, like, oh, did you guys put this thing on purpose? And they kind of say, we always do, like, everything is in there for a reason. Like, there's no real accidents, which I don't think you can ever prevent how someone perceives something, and it could be an accident, but that's a different story. But I'm wondering if they're doing the same thing here. Because, and this is like the theory I'm going with, is if you go back and look at that Up at Noon 6 years ago, talk about basically the first year retrospective, it's at the very tail end of it. But the person they have on there is Mike Z, who at the time wasn't, game director, but now is. I'm wondering if they kind of almost do a bookend of their own, like they did with the Living Story, and because they asked one very big question, and it kind of hints at how we said how Greg Miller is a very much of a console player. Someone wrote in saying during that 6 years ago, will they do they said a PS4 version, which you think, and I don't think this is going to be the main thing, of course, but maybe at the very end, drop a thing of like, maybe even do like a corny little skit of like, hey, last time we talked, it's like, and you know what? You can now play Guild Wars 2, and he'll be, maybe Greg Miller will be like, what do you mean? It's not on, but it's like, but it is now. And
watch him do the intro to Up at Noon for it.
Or hopefully, everybody boos, and then Greg Miller gets to go, what, you guys don't have consoles? Let's just roll with a new meme.
Like, honestly, though, the idea of an MMO being on console, Final Fantasy XIV already does that. And from what I understand, the console support is just as good as the PC support. So I don't see a problem with it. Also, I was messing with, mapping my Steam controller to Guild Wars 2. It can be done you can do controllers for Guild Wars 2, and it's not bad. So,
and like I remember someone even saying on Twitter which one thing I didn't even think about, which might have been a happy coincidence that someone was working on that feature, or maybe it was planned in the background and they just initially said it was a fun little thing in their side free time, was the action camera will help a controller a lot more than mouse and keyboard will.
Honestly,
chat's even saying some of their friends and stuff and family play.
For Netco's comment about a dev doing a side project for controllers, it's like mapping the controller for the PC version. Like he's trying to put in default mappings for a controller for the PC version. Or if you have that link, I'll gladly look at the comment to see if I'm just pulling shit out of my ass here. But like this is a team that would be working on a console version would be a completely different team from working on the PC version. So like if that guy's talking about, I'm doing controller mappings for PC, that wouldn't be someone doing controller mappings for console. So
yeah, and like I said, it's already been, like, people have already mapped it now natively. Yes, but I mean it's already there. I mean, just not native, but you can, like Chad is even saying, they have their significant other plays with a controller. But
thank you, Netco. I appreciate that.
But yeah, I don't know. I'm kind of curious because, like you said, Final Fantasy does it, and I was even asking the question was to the people that know about Final Fantasy more than me, how do they handle PvP in that sense? Like,
Oh,
because
to
I
be
know that's always the big issue with cross platforms is consoles are usually at a disadvantage because of the they have to turn, like it's slower for them to turn or
Yeah, but to be fair, honestly, for Final Fantasy XIV combat, it's more in tune to like controllers. There's not a lot. There's not a huge amount of placement spells, I guess, unless you're like a mage or something like that. But I could see like XIV has more plausibility to have controller adaptations rather than Guild Wars 2, which is more action combat oriented.
yeah. I'm not saying it will be I'm not talking about the controller setup there. I'm more looking at like balance of like are the like
Yeah, like literally every movement skills, like it, like if I played on a control on PC, I probably wouldn't see a massive difference, at least for me, by playing Ninja. Just
and I'm curious if that's the stance that those devs in particular, I'm not saying ArenaNet would take as have people complain that it's like, oh, one side is having a better response time than others, and they're just like, yeah, well, you chose to play it with a controller, like because
yeah,
I'm not sure if they did, but I'm just curious of their response because that's usually the complaint or the issue between a
yeah.
PC versus console is you have a better reaction time usually for a PC. But honestly, going back to the, like you said, action combat, Greg Miller actually does bring back up in that interview. Granted, I don't think they're. It's been a while, but they talked about what was it, DC Online or whatever, and how they're on console. I don't know if they have cross server or whatever, but it's a very much action combat controls.
DC
So
is it kind of like Champions Online or something like that?
it's been so long. You basically make your own superhero character and
Okay,
okay,
well,
I wasn't sure if it wasn't cross server, but I'm talking about yeah, in that aspect I'm talking about the action oriented stuff, but I know they were saying that they were able to put a PC game onto it's little pieces that I'm hoping Arena is maybe potentially able to combine, whether that breaks everything. So, like I said, with the DC Universe Online one, I'm talking specifically about action combat controls and how they handle on a uh, controller versus a mouse and keyboard. But in the sense of Final Fantasy XIV, I'm more talking about the PvP of basically how the devs respond to people saying there are people, I don't know if this is the case. If there are people in PvP complaining that the people on keyboard and mouse are blowing them away in the versus a controller, and what their responses are, because that'll definitely be a thing that'll definitely be a thing because I feel like Arena at this point, I'm already taking the leap here of if they do consoles, they can't have a separate server. Like it has to be all in one because I think both populations would be too small.
Okay. I think, are you getting at the point where if they do like join console players with PC players, PvP will be a problem?
I think for some of the I
do
think there would be an issue for people using the controller maybe.
I think for
At least that would
PvP
be
it
one of the
should be
complaints.
separate. I think PvP should be separate for sure, just because the response time, definitely the actions you can take with in on PC alone is a lot more fluid than you would do on a controller. Definitely, I would say 100%. Versus Final Fantasy, where I think it's much more balanced in terms of respect, so that you could have PC players versus console players. I still think there wouldn't be a much difference there. I haven't played Final Fantasy XIV PvP, but just the way combat works, that's my feeling from it.
Well, I was just saying this is, and you're I think bringing up the point that one of the concerns I had, which I don't know if we're talking about the same thing since you're just referring to Sony, but I know Sony and Microsoft because I've heard it with, and I guess even Nintendo, because I've heard it through Warframe devs, on their dev streams and stuff, where they say like the reason the PC one comes out first is the test things, but also because they have to go through certification, which that could slow. Is that if it's all on the same server, which Warframe isn't, so they can parse them out separately? Will we see slower updates or?
I don't think so. I mean, Warframe's proven that they're getting a lot
Well,
closer.
but they're separate servers.
Yeah, but
and they
still,
come out differently.
Overwatch has something similar as well, and there's a smaller delay, but they're still usually around the same time now. It's like catching up.
It really just depends on if the development studio is able to. You basically have to tailor your development cadence to match the cadence of the release platform.
Yeah,
I mean, you're not going through a middleman, so it's a completely different animal. Yes, but then you have these companies that throw in platform as well. So Overwatch, Warframe.
Yeah.
Those companies have tailored their development process to account for that. So it's kind of, and that was from the beginning, at least for Overwatch. So
yeah, I was gonna say, I think Warframe was, Warframe's as.
If you really wanted to see like them retailoring their release schedule, you'd have to go back to the launch of Warframe on consoles and look at like the PC launches before, like all the way before that, and then up to and probably 6, 7, 8 months after the console release to see how it was doing that.
Yeah, also Sony and Microsoft are talking about crossplay recently. I don't know what's going to happen for that, but that'll definitely help in terms of.
It only took Epic Games with Fortnite to get Sony to cave on that.
Yeah.
And Sony screwed that up too. Yep, log on to your PS4 with your Fortnite account. You can only play your Fortnite account on a PS4. Yay! They fixed that, right?
I don't know.
I have no idea. But I guess this is my question: is do you think if there would be an announcement, do you want to see it on all consoles, or do you think it would benefit? I mean, I guess ideally you would probably want to see it on all consoles because that's just more players. But if we had to go for one console, what do you think would be the best one? Because we are also in the age of exclusivities. I mean,
it wouldn't be one console. It would just, if we had to choose, it'd be PlayStation and Xbox, and then like maybe later on Switch.
I would love Guild Wars 2 on the Switch would be fantastic. I would love that.
A lot of people really like it when games go on Switch like that. It's very interesting to me
because
it turns your favorite game into a mobile game.
Exactly.
So,
like it works. It just works.
And I know a lot of people, especially two right here, are probably going to eye roll when I say we're forgetting one, which I think would be perfect. Stadia. I think Stadia would be great for actually content creators as well, because they're gonna potentially have a feature where, and if they could somehow implement the wiki system, they're gonna have a feature. I'm stuck on a jumping puzzle. You can ask the thing; it's gonna bring up probably a YouTube video, or potentially if they could work the wiki thing in. But it seems like right now it might be closed to Google product because keep them in the ecosystem.
The thing is with that, I guess, well, I was about to say, then we get into subscription things, but then PlayStation and Microsoft have subscription things as well, and it's I guess
that would be the Switch. In order to do online anything for
I know
consoles, you now have
and I was gonna say same with Xbox. You need Xbox Gold to have multiplayer. Unless
that's why I stopped talking.
Okay.
But I don't know. With Stadia, there's this whole thing about game ownership and things like that. So I'm not sure.
Well, I suppose the better thing with something like Guild Wars 2 is you purchase the license from ArenaNet. So if if they're not doing, if this theoretical console edition were to happen, your license, and we're not talking about unique servers, you would be able to log on to your PS4 and then walk into I'd be able to log into my PS4 and then log out and walk into my office and log in, and it'd still be the same character. So a subscription or online game that requires an account that saves your progress on their servers on Stadia wouldn't matter. You wouldn't have to worry about Google getting Google bored and killing Stadia because you'd still have your account.
Yeah, and I think the interesting thing is what Chad is saying. Maybe get more than 50 frames per second in Word World. Supposedly you're gonna have, suppose you're gonna have top of line computers, blah blah blah, whatever they say. But it's in a dedicated place. ArenaNet knows where how to send that information there. They don't have to figure out how to get it to you. They just have to figure out how to get it to that spot. But also, like I said, I think some of the features that they're going to try to do would be very beneficial, especially Guild Wars 2 touts it's a very a lot of people could run it try to keep it low systems. If you have a Google browser, that's one thing why I said the power of Stadia originally turns every Chromebook into a $2,000 gaming laptop. What was that? What was that?
It's a gaming rig.
Well, yeah. I mean.
Oh,
and chat was saying Warframe on Switch doesn't need the sub, so there we go. Here's a valid question. Why is it that 100% of the people who play Guild Wars 2
finish it
is huggable and ticklish in real life?
I don't know your sample size, but
yeah, that there's some incomplete data there. You're gonna have to provide your sources.
Yeah, Stadia has been showcased. It hasn't been proven in terms of distribution across the countries that they're
true. And when it comes out in November, it's slow rolling it. It's a buy-in, but eventually, you're concerned about the subscription to it. Subscription after that's if you want it in November, you're gonna need the subscription. Afterwards, it's actually at 1080p, and I think it's at 30 or 60. I don't have the numbers in front of me, unfortunately, but it's free.
It'll be free in 2020.
Yeah, sometime they said early 2020, which I have, but you're saying there's a sub to it. That's only if you want premium, which is 4K, which, okay, if you're playing on a 4K system,
you need the hardware to be able to support 4K, basically.
Yeah.
But I think we're getting away from Guild Wars 2 here.
Yes.
Talking about Stadia now. Oh.
That was my plan all along. But no, I really think that it's just such a nice coincidence that they're picking. They got Greg Miller, and literally the person they interviewed was Mike Z, which I'm assuming is going to be at least one of the people up there talking about, since he's now game director. Because in the past they've had the game directors being the ones that are talking about it, so I think it would be a nice little thing of maybe at that moment as a last ditch, the thing of we were saying last week of how the devs like to go, oh, here's the thing, and it's available now. Maybe they won't do the available now thing, but it might be their final boom at the end, oh, and we're going to console, and then it fades to black. So I don't really think it's going to be this is the big announcement, because everybody be like, what?
Well, I mean, that's the thing is we keep talking about is it's living world. They have very clearly stamped living story all across this. I don't know why people are expecting oh, it's an expansion. It's just
it's more how are they going to do living story in the future is essentially what this reveal is to me.
Which
are they taking a different turn from what they've usually done? Because I think a lot of people just don't like the like it's very predictable how Living World works right now in terms of the story. You know, you get story, map, legendary, that type of things.
Oh,
And
you
then
mean the
master.
mechanics, not the actual plot.
Yeah, mechanics. No, the plot I feel like is going to change. I don't know if they're going to focus on Dragon still or not. I think they should move on to something else.
Actually, it's funny you mentioned that because I know Nike put out a video of basically their thoughts on what's going to be for the August 30th announcement, and that was one of the things of he feels they should move away from dragons, but we'll kind of go through each bit by bit, and if you do want to see it, and also if you want to get in on the discussion that some people were having, there's a Reddit post, but that should link to the YouTube one as well. But in just kind of a quick synopsis, he talks about basically he doesn't think most of the things he mentions will be announced, but this is kind of, I guess, his hopes or wish lists for it. But at minimum, story instances, new mount, new fractal, new raid wing in late 2020, if lucky. Though he also says if they announce season 5 as an expansion, which this is what I'm confused by. You mean drop it all at once? Like,
I don't, more like expansion, like it would still have the same like type of 3-month cadence, but it would like
have the
after it
expansion
ends,
like
it feels
features?
like an expansion, right?
Okay.
Like it would drop like maybe expansion, like a new feature like halfway or something like that.
Oh, okay.
It'd be over the span of leaving story, we would have an expansion, essentially.
I mean, I feel like we get that now. Multiple zones. The only thing new is they would add a brand new feature. But
so my whole thought here is that and this is just addressing the minimum stuff.
okay.
Story instances, we get that with every chapter of the living story, always.
That section is basically like what he expects minimum. That's what's going to make the reveal.
New mount, I mean, maybe we've gotten
2,
4. Wait,
well, 2 new ones.
Technically, I kind of technically count the Griffin as new because we didn't know about it at the start. But
well, that's Path of Fire. I don't really count.
So the Sky Scale, the Roller Beetle. I know the War Claw is technically WW content, but
it came out during Living World section. I mean, I would consider that a.
Well, I mean, and generally speaking, I think we go back, like going back to God, the episode 1 of this show, or within the first 10 episodes when we got the Heart of Thorns reveal. What is an expansion to Guild Wars 2?
Yeah.
Like at this point, the only consistency between the two that we've had is new elite specs, new major, like opening up a new major world area of the map, and a giant block of story. And then
and I would say a new traversal thing.
Yeah,
because we had like gliding and now we have mounts, which
Guildhall.
None of which actually require them to sell us a box.
No, but the hype, right?
Which, I mean, at this point, like people wanting an expansion, it boom bust. You get the hype and then it peters out, and then you get the hype and then it peters out.
I think, I don't know if this is like a general issue, but I think the thing is that expansions I feel like are really good for a game just because it generates a lot of hype, more usual than like the episodes, like in terms of Guild Wars 2. But for most games, it would generate a lot of hype. It gets a lot of people into the game or interested in the game. and that's good for getting people in. But it's like trying to keep people in is kind of the issue, and it's
Well, but that's the problem is WoW doesn't even keep people in. Like,
well, WoW is WoW. But in terms of
but I
Guild
know
Wars,
that's what people always go to as WoW is like the gold standard, and that's
I
why
don't-
we should do expansions because it works great for WoW. Well, it doesn't.
yeah, that's not what I mean. I mean like
Okay.
just not even specifically for WoW. I think just most games, like if you want an expansion, that's great, getting people in, but you want to keep those people in. Like for the most part, you don't like obviously people are going to go after a while, but you kind of want to retain the majority of the people that are new and come in. So I don't know if that pertains to a lot of the issue for a lot of MMO games, but I think that's kind of the idea behind an expansion.
Though, and I also usually it's a whole new part of the story. Like it goes to a
Yeah.
completely different area. Whereas Guild Wars 2 so far has gone to a new area, but it bleeds in like it's still the same story. So maybe because they've talked about how this is a very much a bookend, like how it ended, it seems like it's a nice thing where it's like if you miss this, you'll be okay type thing. That's kind of how they've been
So what
hinting
you're
at.
saying, it's a whole new world.
Hopefully with a fantastic point of view. But yeah, it's maybe this is why they were trying to market it like an expansion is this time more so than any in Guild Wars 2 is a good spot to jump in apparently because it's going to be what they've kind of hinted at as a new story.
Well, that's honestly one of the things is like this. You guys remember the blog post that Mike Z put out not that long ago, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where he was talking about we're changing the way we do. And this was before the layoffs, so we're changing the way we're doing living story. There's probably not going to be a new map with every chapter out. We're going to be reallocating resources for other stuff, and then the layoffs happen. So I'm basically taking everything that happened with the layoffs as like a big ass delay. And I kind of feel like this this presentation is probably going to be like the jumping off point for the big, like the changes to living story going forward. I would also like there's just one of the posts that in that Reddit thread that just kind of irked me is somebody complaining about the quote unquote formula to living story maps, saying that it's like the hearts and the events are copy pasted and everything, and it's just like there's the insinuation in the post is that the formula makes it harder for them to develop living story maps, and that moving away from the formula would mean it would be easier for them to divert resources elsewhere.
What? No, makes it harder.
Which actually you think if someone that doesn't understand it thinks about it, I guess this sounds somewhat insulting when I say it like that, but you would naturally think that like, oh, we're not going to we're going to take off all the restraints from you so you can think creatively. Well, if you can think anything in the world, then you're starting to have problems where you start to get, the phrase thinking outside the box. Yeah, guess what? You need a box. That's where creativity can stem from, depending on the person. Some can just naturally come up with crazy stuff, but a lot of times in their own head, they have a framework structure where they start thinking outside the box.
Even if like the whole point of a structure like that, it's like a new map, hearts, all that stuff, is because it's like it's concrete. It's something that's always going to be there. It's something that's easy to implement. Versus if you actually think outside the box, you have to think of all the new things that you have to put in. Plus, you have to have the time to implement those things on top of the basic framework that you have. So yeah, it does take more time.
Also the other because thing, so many people wanted hearts. Oh, I hate community. Sorry.
I'm gonna address the people wanting more raid content in the room. By room I mean Twitch chat, the internet at large. I get you. I understand wanting more raid content. I really do. But people who design living story maps aren't necessarily going to be the people who are going to work on your raids.
I don't think that's a problem. I think it's just
but that's the problem is people say, oh, get people off of all these copy paste living story maps and get them working on the raids. And it's just like, you can't divert people like that. People aren't resources in a video game that you can just divert. This isn't like
it's
a
like
city builder game where you take population from over here and put it into this resource.
They're basically what's his face from Star Trek. We're lowering the energy so we can put it all into shields. Like,
yeah, that's not how development works.
We need, but I if there are less resources for raids, I do agree that there needs to be more resources for raids, whether it's hiring people or that. But
like, I totally agree. Like, I do think that I don't have a problem with the raid release cadence, like every 9 months, because again, like as I say, every time raids come up, I came from World of Warcraft, and that was the release cadence for Guild Wars 2 is either on par or faster than World of Warcraft. But I get
no, Jim, that's not what people are saying on the internet, so they can stay mad at Guild Wars 2 raid release schedule.
I don't mind a 9-month cadence. I know I personally don't mind, but the raid instance has to be good and challenging. That's the difference for me.
Which I get. A lot of people having more like levers to increase like the challenge. I know people like, just give us challenge modes. Give us challenge modes to encounters. And I get that. It's fine. That's great. That's understandable. I love it. You're fine. Wanting more raids, I think is that's how you get to boss attack hallways. And I'm not a fan of those. But if you
make it more elaborate, you need time in between to make sense. Otherwise, it's like, are you going through a door and magically getting teleported to the next boss? Because otherwise, you need hallways, and are you just gonna have empty hallways? No, you gotta fill it with stuff. Then it's just meaningless trash.
Like the more extreme side of my rant here, I suppose, is when ArenaNet releases a video, or say when League of Legends releases a video, there are always comments. Why are you taking the time to release this stupid video? Why aren't you fixing your game? And it's like, because the people who make a video aren't the people who do balance.
It just reminds me of like Ruby in one of the guild chats where she was like, you do not want me, working on the game. Like, she's not a developer that, she's not a coder. She's not a.
But just as a side note, that new Pantheon though, new Pantheon though. We'll talk about it later.
Yeah. But I'm definitely curious. Like Chad was saying, Star Trek Online. I'll have to look more into it because apparently they released a faction as an expansion like feature over the course of a year, and I asked, and apparently it was free as well. So that's definitely interesting. But like Chad was saying about in reference to the stuff that was going into the open world maps. And they're saying that the resources that they're complaining about apparently is creating new maps, which Mike Z addressed in that that post. So they seem like they want to go back to how it was, like maybe releasing only one or two maps throughout the whole season, and then just release one and then slowly build upon it, kind of like we had to do Dry Top. So like he's already kind of said that was at least their plan going into this.
Right. I really hate that there's this whole discussion of like, oh, you need X resources here, X resources there. You don't really know how it works. So like, I don't like if like 6 people are working on raid and you don't think that's enough, how do you know that? I personally don't know the skill level of those developers. I don't.
Also, how do you know it's just 6 people working on the raid?
However, like, since they give insight on what they do, which I don't think they should do, like, I don't think the general public really needs to know that. But anyway, it's because like they know that different art assets and game mechanics are done via other departments of what I remember. So that becomes the problem.
Because like the idea of what is a raid team, like what is the team designing this thing is kind of nebulous, because with game design you need art modeling, like you need the art people, you need the game balance people, you need the systems people.
Yeah.
It's a big tangled mess, really. It's not like a box with stuff in it.
Yeah, as of last year, I think it's shared. Those resources are shared amongst different teams like Living World, PvP, like all that stuff. So it's like becomes an issue at that point. So maybe that's what they're talking about of how they're restructuring things. Maybe it's to be like they'll have like for the gameplay programmers, okay, the subsets for raids, this subsets for fractals, this subsets for open world, this subset, and then like maybe if they have to, like they'll have like people join X subset depending on the needs type of deal. I don't know, but
and I know some people were saying besides elite specs, it's like I know that was one thing Nike brought up was put like if they announce season 5 as an expansion type thing, having elite specializations, and their reasoning was they're aware that it's a double-edged sword due to balance, but Nike did say he felt the risk was worth taking. I'm curious, and I guess I'm already knowing what Jim's thoughts are on it, but I'm curious if you guys do you feel the risk would be worth taking?
He's not wrong. I don't think he's wrong, honestly. I understand it's a double-edged sword. I understand it's a lot of balance issues.
You don't think I'm wrong, or you don't think Nike's wrong?
I don't think Nike's wrong, honestly, because like I hate the
everything's
fact
on fire. So who cares? Add more fire.
No. It's like I know like for another year balance will be out of whack, but it really comes down to will you be on top of balance if you add in elite specs, because that's gonna be kind of like the make or break if you add elite specs. If you add another set of elite specs, it's going to cause problems. So you have to be on top of balance. That's all there is to it.
And it's not something that can, like with the layoffs that happened, it's not going to happen. They're not at a point right now where they could add that instability. Like, okay, I want to everybody think back to how relatively balanced Heart of Thorns elite specs in PvP were. Like base classes weren't crowded out. All the like both base and elite specs from Heart of Thorns, they all had their place. I'll admit Revenant was kind of weird, but Revenant was kind of weird when it released because it was designed knowing that the elite spec would exist.
Yeah.
So core Rev was still not
there
entirely, but they've done a lot of work on Revenant recently, so there's that. And then just in the middle of a ranked season, here's the Path of Fire elite specs, and we all remember what happened then, both in PvE, WW, and PvP. Like it just went all weird.
Yeah,
I see Netco. I don't like at this point. I don't want them to ever release another expansion. I just want them to.
I was just gonna say, I'm curious. Do you guys actually think, because like chat's saying, they feel like they need to release elite specs, basically because it's potentially 6 more episodes or more. I mean, we don't know what the new cadence might be for it. It might be more episodes. But yeah, do you think we'll go back to another X pack?
Well, my only problem with what Netco is saying is it's trying to put some kind of time mandate on releasing elite specs, which I think is just a catastrophically bad idea for game development in a general sense, because you got to figure you need to develop completely new for one class. You need to develop a twist on the class mechanic. You need to develop a completely new set of skills for it. You have to do the particle effects and the art for that. You have to design all of the traits and then all of the art that goes along with that in case it changes any of the particles for the spec that you just put in. and then you have to do that 9 times, and then you have to balance it.
And like Chad is saying, it's the one element that actually adds content for every game mode. Very true. It is the easiest one to it's the easiest one to implement because you're implementing one feature, which is technically all elite specs, that will affect them all. But like we've seen with POF when the Scourge came out, they one feature that broke 3 game modes. Whereas if theoretically, and one of the things was brought up was a PvP Swiss automated tournament would be a feature for PvP. War World Alliance system, maybe revamping, Nike brought up revamping the core War World system, which, yeah, I agree. Like, promote winning and discouraging bandwagoning would be awesome. Would be a War World feature. Yes, and then a PvE feature. These would be 3 separate features that you have to focus on. But you're doing what they have done with the builds, where people have constantly outcried of like, is there any way we could get like how Guild Wars 1 was, where you kind of had a separate build, or you could have a separate system where they do it here and there of splitting the skills when they're really bad, but it still is a crapshoot of, if we shove those in there, we're further breaking every game mode.
And you're right, QED, that elite specs do add content for every single game mode, but they also introduce wildly different potential bugs with every game mode due to interactions being different in every game mode.
Yeah.
So you literally have to have 3 separate QA teams for each game mode in order to test the one feature you added. So yes, it is the single largest content drop that Guild Wars 2 can do, but that also means that it requires an equal amount of testing. Well, yeah, you're right. That's a matter of testing. But that's the problem, is that there's no test like live. They're going to miss stuff. When they're going from, I'm being incredibly generous, 30 to 50 people on a testing team to the however many hundreds of thousands of people play Guild Wars 2 on a daily basis.
And how long has POF been out? I think Chad was saying 2 years. So, I mean, with all the people they have at their disposal testing live, we're disabling Mesmer in PvP basically. So we're still not balanced across 3 game modes, and it's been 2 years. There is no way if they somehow turned all the people that worked at ArenaNet into QA testers to test this stuff, it would still not meet the numbers to test it in the 2 like, it would be longer. It would be substantially longer.
Every time.
I would say you can't. I don't think you can use that as an argument, just because like you will always have problems no matter what. Even if you have the best QA team in the world, you're always going to have problems. However, I do think, I think first and foremost, balance has to be addressed very quickly if something's out of hand. And I do think balance needs to be one of the core things that ArenaNet focuses on if they ever want to release a new elite spec. I think they have the potential to, but it really comes down to how much effort and resources do you want to put into properly balancing things if things go wrong, because I think no matter what, things will go wrong.
I actually, for anybody who plays tabletop, D&D 3.5, hands up in chat if you play D&D 3.5 or on the stream here. How many prestige classes are available in D&D 3.5?
Oh God, I'm not that good at D&D. I don't know.
There are so many builds in D&D. There are so many prestige classes in D&D 3.0. See, Hat's got me. There are too many, but there are so many builds where you'll get 5 levels here of a base class, and then 3 levels of this prestige class, and then 2 levels of this prestige class, and then 1 level of this prestige class, and you blow everything up without having to think about it.
Now,
adding a new layer of I've said it before, an elite spec in Guild Wars 2 is a new class. It's effectively a prestige class of the core class in Guild Wars 2, which basically adds a whole new spin on how you play the character. A core Necro, a Reaper, and a Scourge all have their unique things that they do. Every time you add an elite spec, you're adding 9 new classes that you now have to balance against everything else. So 9, 18, 27, 36. And then you also have to account for all the interactions between the core skills and the elite spec and the runes and the sigils. So it's one of those things where as you add more, it's going to get worse. It's going to take more dev time, more QA time. It's, I mean, to take another modern example of balance and stuff like this, the sword shield controversy with Pokemon, where they're not going to let you bring every single Pokemon that's ever existed into Sword and Shield.
Yeah.
There is no national Pokedex. It's just the Galar region. You can only bring a Pokemon into the game if it exists in Sword and Shield. People are up in arms about it, but we're at like 900 plus Pokemon.
Yeah.
So every time they add a new move, mechanic, interaction, they need to test every single Pokemon in that new game. Now, we're not at 900 classes in Guild Wars 2, but we're at 27.
Personally, I forgot to mention this, but personally, I think if they add the elite spec, I think it'll be the last one. I think it'll be the last set.
Honestly, 36, but basically 36 classes at that point. Yeah, it's kind of crazy.
Yeah, I think.
And I'm just curious, like what Chad is saying, like they would rather get new elite specs even if they are not balanced at the start. Well, at the start, like I said, 2 years in, they're still not balanced. But then just getting nothing new, but perfect balance. Unfortunately, you're thinking that elite specs are the only new, like, if they put out new maps, new thing, or like, it, like, do you think that's the only thing that carries an expansion? Like,
for most people, yes.
Then I
don't know. I never know what to say to that either, Deo, because it's just like, I'm okay with what Pink Pirate Nipples is saying, a new weapon type. I've long campaigned for spears on land because
I would like them to see them open up weapon types outside of elite specs.
So just actually, that wouldn't be a bad thing, honestly. Like, get 3 new weapons, and then you have 1 weapon for every 3 professions. So everyone gets something.
I mean, it's definitely like a new weapon type would be like a completely new weapon type would be pretty freaking cool. Like actually doing like a great axe as opposed to, just the one-handed axes.
But, the problem is those weapon types will have to be like very desirable.
That they'd have to have.
Though I don't know, with the last balance patch, weren't they trying to remove weapon bonusing skill like traits?
They were trying to make it so that you weren't locked into you didn't feel like, basically if you took the axe trait for, say, a warrior, if they didn't want that to feel like a dead slot if you didn't want to equip axes.
Yeah.
Like they wanted if you didn't equip the weapon that was the weapon trait, they still wanted it to be somewhat desirable. Like
you get 1 plus 150 ferocity, and you get double that ferocity if you have axes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that could be one solution into not needing a new spec line, is just trickling that in to other places. Like maybe, like you said, with warrior, there's like an arms trait that it has axes. Maybe it does great axes as well.
Do you think there's another type of professions, skills, weapon type of thing they can do that could not make it a complete nightmare for them?
So like another player-based, a character-based thing that gave some new gameplay but wasn't necessarily an elite spec?
Yeah.
And
chat, you could chime in on this too. I'm actually interested. Because like, if they move away from elite specs, what else could they do?
I don't think they're going to move away from elite specs. Elite specs are a fantastic evolution of new elite skills would be good. Like, I'm okay with what Pink Pirate Nipples is saying there. New elite skills would be fantastic, just because I feel like elite skills are some of the most restricted in the game. Like half the time on my warrior, I slot Signet of Rage just because. Because I honestly don't like Rampage, and I don't have Headbutt yet on my warrior that I run as a Berserker, just because I've been lazy and haven't taken the time to finish training Berserker. And even then, I don't know if I'd want to use Headbutt on a PvE Berserker build for, you know, the open world shit that I do with them. Yeah, but I'm not 100% certain what I would know. Like, I don't know what they would add, but I don't know. I kind of think that elite specs are quite possibly the best thing that they did to the class system. I mean, like I said, it's going to get harder and harder for them to actually add stuff, but it's probably the best evolution of the trait system that they've got. The one thing I did want to bring up with what Nike said is that this bullet point here that we have in the notes for WW Alliances as a season 5 feature. I don't want a deadline on that.
Yeah, I was just gonna say if it's ready, sure. If hopefully they weren't rushing to it, because then we're gonna have a problem like they're saying with revamping of the core world systems. If we keep trying to rush this stuff out, it's not gonna, you know.
Yeah, well, see, that's the thing is WW's huge. Like, as an undertaking for game development, WW is massive. Like, it's a very broad, overarching thing. So I don't want to put a line on it. And to answer Zachryox in chat, I honestly don't think there should be a hard limit on elite specs. But like I said, my rant there, the more you add, the harder it's going to be to balance, because it's essentially another 9 classes.
Do you think they'll go maybe after 3 max elite specs or something, maybe they'll go the route of like start putting skills back into the game, where that kind of like Guild Wars 1, and they try to do it, I think, with whatchamacallit.
You know what? I wouldn't mind if they added core utilities.
Yeah, I was gonna say, what if through the living story, you know, maybe the story is we're going out, like, you know, if you haven't done the story yet, I'm sorry, but we realize, you know, Balthazar was a jerk. There's more to the god stuff. We go after all the gods. Maybe we start picking up different, like, ascension type skills that unlock for all the classes.
Get back here.
Yeah. But, you know, we pick up ones that are unanimous for across all classes or professions. So there isn't this weird switching, you know, having to, it minimizes the balance thing a little bit, but it was kind of something they did with Guild Wars 1. They played with it with the Tower of Nightmares with the heal skill that kind of no one really used.
Oh yeah, they took it out.
Yep.
Yeah, they just basically took it out. But I'm just saying it was, I think, something they played with, but I don't think it was ever to the level of what you saw in Guild Wars 1, where people were turning these into builds. Like, I remember the different Norn aspect trait, you know, skills you could use. But
those are fun.
The shapeshifters are still in the game. They're elites.
Yeah, tell that to my Revenant.
Yeah, they're racial elites, so, you know, Revenants don't get to see them. But
if you're
they've been nerfed to hell and back. Although I'll admit, I was talking to Boots on Twitter. He did a core burn Guardian build that actually used Mistfire Wolf.
Nice.
I gotta talk to Boots.
I still need to set that build up. Like, we were talking, like, because I've been building Seraph gear for a quick brand build, and I'm just like, you know, if I switch one of those straight lines to honor and use a staff instead, it's like there's a WW build, but I digress. I do like the idea of revamping WW systems to kind of promote actually wanting to win and to prevent, well, I mean, we can't really say prevent bandwagoning, because the alliance system is going to completely.
And I was gonna say, and that line is the easiest part of that. Like, I don't think there has been I can't think of an MMO that had a big system like that can temper bandwagoning, like,
There's not a lot of Rome versus Rome games now I think
or
about
bigger
it.
scale
No.
PvP though. That's
No, the largest scale PvP I'd experienced before this was Alterac Valley in Guild Wars, or Guild Wars in World of Warcraft. And even then, that basically just devolved to the entire Zerg rushes to the boss and tries to DPS it down faster than the enemy.
Yeah, it's basically a foot race.
Which, if you had a paladin, you won.
Yes.
Because
I still remember that. Is there a paladin? I got the buff. Everybody get to the gate. Anyway. But yeah, some of the other as he referred to it as commitments to veteran players, like PvP Swiss automated tournament as a season 5 feature. Yeah, I think that would be nice if it is at all, if it's ready. I know they've talked about it kind of a thing in the past, so hopefully maybe the silence, they were like, let's hold off on it till we, maybe it can be this expansion like feature. In the realm of PvP, Nike's also suggesting a PvP LAN with a cash prize. I don't think that is anywhere in the cards. I think esports for Guild Wars 2 is dead in the water, unless the community can turn it around, and then I'm sure they would be like, okay, yeah. But I think
I don't think. Yeah, at this point, I don't think tournaments are going to be a huge thing anymore.
Especially because it's the issues with the other things of like, it's not going to bring new eyes in, which is probably what Guild Wars 2 and their marketing team want it to do. Because every time people say it's so tough to comprehend what's going on the screen for someone that hasn't ever played the game. Like, you can't really pick it up easily.
The Swiss automated tournament would be fantastic. The LAN, do they have a LAN client? I know Riot for League of Legends has a LAN client, but they don't let that go.
Yeah,
like, that's not used outside of NA.
They probably have a LAN client. I wouldn't be surprised.
Because I know the reason it doesn't go out of NA, because the second that leaks, you have people setting up private League of Legends servers.
Yeah.
So that's why you're not seeing like a LAN. People say LAN because they don't want lag to be a thing for PvP. But
yeah, it'd probably be at a studio or something, where they can set it up.
Or at a theater during a special announcement. This is all just to get the people there. Yeah. Hey, that's why you're going, right? You're going to be in it, huh? I know now. All right.
But actually, Dale, you talk about the revamp to prevent bandwagoning as the easiest thing. I actually think the fractal bullet point he has is easier.
Raising the fractal level cap to...
So adding basically one or two new tiers of fractal.
And I mean, if anything, that would be the perfect thing for it, because fractals were meant to be the answer to the gear treadmill people.
It's infinite. I mean, as far as I can tell, the entire scaling of fractals is just an equation, and the X is the scale of the fractal. So I don't understand, like, I don't know if they'd just be able to uncap it. I mean, eventually you're going to just get one shot by, something's auto attack just because numbers, but.
And there's enough agony type of infusions to increase the cap, or if not with combining with other stats, I guess there is a way to add it too.
So, and there's plenty of infusion slots to.
Honestly, that's probably the easiest one to do.
I mean, you could technically, they could probably just raise it to the X, like the 25 count cap that as can actually fit agony in the game, because I know there is a cap to the amount of AR you can get.
Yeah, they'd have to raise the cap, obviously.
Well, I don't know if there's like a hard cap, but like literally
you won't diminishing returns or something.
So much agony resist on an item per slot.
So
there's technically a hard cap based on the agony resist infusions that are available and the number of slots of infusions you have on your gear. So
yeah, I have a combo of 9 and 11s that get me to like the proper AI for Factor 100, but there's like you can put on way more than that.
right,
So
and that's what I'm talking about. That would be the cap,
In
basically, unless they wanted to add.
chat saying agony as a whole is really pointless. Yeah, it's basically their response to the people that came from like WoW and stuff and go, "Where's my gear treadmill?"
Agony
So,
agony is the gear treadmill.
yeah,
Like that's it. That's literally the whole
it
point.
it's basically serves the same purpose as how WoW, when a new raid comes out, you're dying a lot until you get that one drop you can get, and then you're a little bit better and a little bit better, and that's theoretically WoW and all those games could do that in a single stat, but it doesn't look as pretty.
Yeah.
So, but and in case someone's just listening to this, I was joking about the revamping of the core World v World system as being the easiest thing. I think it's the easiest thing to say, but to discourage bandwagon, like I said,
Well,
so many MMOs out there that have tried a large scale combat, and you're always going to have people bandwagoning. I mean,
well, the way to, like, honestly, the alliance system does a lot to stop that, because I'm going to assume that you're kind of like you can make and break alliances, but I would hope that they kind of lock you in at a certain point where you can't just like run away. You haven't. Oh, right. Okay, Mafongo. Then this other one, the Raid Wing every 6 months and Fractal every 6 months on an alternating schedule. So what is that?
it sounds like there's going to be one
Every
raid a
3
year and
months.
one fractal a year.
No, I think what he's talking about is every 3 months there's a release. Raid, Fractal, Raid, Fractal, Raid, Fractal. So every 6 months there's a raid. Every 6 months there's a Fractal.
Oh.
But there's 3 months in between, and like we're alternating. So there's 3 months in between the last Fractal and the next raid.
Oh.
So we're talking quarterly Fractal and raid updates, and Fractal or raid updates. And I don't know if that's possible.
Yeah. Chat saying, I remember when they mentioned that their goal is to get through an entire tier of fractals so that there was no repeating. Oh yeah, I think that I remember them saying something like that.
Sensible.
So yeah, 25 unique fractals. They're 4 shy of that now. So yeah, I mean, but yeah, every 3 months for either a raid or a fractal, that's a high demand.
It would require a pretty large restructuring of staff.
Yeah, once again, I'm still trying to think like what other games out there have a raid wing every 6 months as well.
None that I'm aware of.
Like, I have a feeling that
I wouldn't compare it to other games. It's just like I want to focus as Guild Wars 2 as Guild Wars 2.
All right, but I'm just saying that's usually other people's go-tos is other games can do it. Why can't you? Which
it's more like if you're the cadence has to warrant the raid wing, in my opinion. That's all I really care about. So if you're gonna make a person wait 9 months, the raid wing has to be like fairly decent.
Well, the only problem is that fairly decent is subjective.
It's subjective, but there's like a clear line of like if it's decent or not.
Okay.
Decent in terms of challenging. I mean,
of the first 3 raid wings, what did you say was decent?
Second.
I liked all of them.
I liked all of them. But,
I thought they were all.
But then again, the first 3 raid wings came out on a 3-month cadence.
I mean, yeah, but at the same time, it's one of those things where it's just like people in the future who start playing this game, they're not getting them on a cadence.
It's more like raiders are kind of like figured out the formula for like raid groups. So in the very beginning, we're kind of like struggling, trying to figure out what the best thing is. And now, like, we kind of just bring this formulaic structure. So I figuring it needs to make it so that we kind of have to think differently in terms of raid groups or like how we do raids.
That's balance then. That's not raiding.
I think it's just the raid structure.
And I'm curious, how unique are the raid mechanics in the raids themselves? Because, you know, a lot of people claim, you know, 4 to 5 bosses, which you kind of see in other games. And I know, Age, you don't want people mentioning other games.
No, that's fine.
But a lot of those fights are usually tank and spank, like very cut and dry.
So
how many of those vary where
I think that's another one of the problems with raids and Guild Wars 2. It's just because there are interesting mechanics in those raids, and sometimes those mechanics kind of accumulate to that one big boss fight at the end. But at the same time, that's also a difficulty that the raid team has. And I think that's a reason why some of those raid rings take so long, is because they need to think of this cool new mechanic that isn't cookie cutter.
and I think that's what
time,
I think that's what Chat's getting at is, you know, hopefully they don't shy away from reusing a mechanic, but honestly, that is also the problem, is that is where the difficulty for Guild Wars 2 is, not gear. So they do run into that issue, or
because then the problem becomes now every single boss you create has to have something completely new that no one has ever seen before.
Yeah, but then at the same time, it has to be challenging as well. Like, all the mechanics together have to be challenging. Therein lies the problem, in my opinion, with raids, and just why it takes so long for raids to come out.
8 to 10 bot, you are crazy. I am sorry, Chat.
QED, that's
at the level that they make raid bosses fights. That would be very difficult.
That's the level that WoW makes raid bosses. Any other MMO makes raid bosses 8 to 10 in 9 months is insane.
Like, I remember the last raid that
and most of them are well, I don't know about Final Fantasy XIV, but WoW, most of them are tank and spank and don't vary that much from any mechanic.
A large portion, one of my favorite raids that I did in World of Warcraft was Molten Core. The second one, not the first one. Molten Frontier. I can't remember. It was in Cataclysm. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, maybe bosses in that raid. Like, and there was 1 or 2 unique things per boss. And that was, and honestly, most of it we just kind of overcame with gear. And like I've said previously, we don't have the gear treadmill. So it's literally just learning the tactics. 8 to 10 bosses wouldn't help. It would just make the raids take longer. It would make each of the bosses less unique. And we'd be right back where we were. Like, there's nothing there. So, and honestly, I'm with Netco. Like, in adding difficulty tiers to current raids would be a better idea than adding more bosses. It's that's just people not paying attention, mister. That's not something you're going to change. The game teaches you how to play. I didn't look at any guides when I started playing Guild Wars 2. I didn't look at any guides prior to even being on this Goram podcast. I just read my tooltips and paid attention when I started the game, when it says, this is how you dodge roll. This is how you start an attack. And I just read my tooltips. People, when does the game teach you? By playing it and by reading. Like, there's a little dodge circle. Like, you have to read. You have to pay attention to what you're doing.
I think I do think that there could be a better like tutorial system, but
See, Mafongo, even going Insta 80, read your tooltips and you'll get the combos. I'm terrible at Revenant, but that's because I don't play it. I Insta 80'd my Revenant, but I understand how they work on like a conceptual level because I've read my tooltips.
Yeah, if you're gonna Insta 80, you kind of have to read at that point, because I Insta 88 it Insta 90'd or Insta 80'd in WoW, and
Honestly, that's always been a problem in games. Like
that was like
I was just gonna say WoW and
yeah, and I haven't played that game in 6 years, so I'm like, okay, what do I need?
Oh, Mafongo, no, it'll get worse. Build templates will make reading worse because people will just go to meta battle, they'll copy the build string, paste it into the template, and then wonder what they're doing wrong.
They need to look, yeah, at that point.
They need to actually read the guide that is on meta battle, but nobody does that because that's reading. So, and thank you, Fresh Oranges, for the follow. Yes, RTFM. Thank you, dear. But the game teaches you when you play, like most games do. If you fail to dodge, you either take damage, get stunned, or die. This is learning, because then you're like, oh, I have gone into downstate. What caused me to go into downstate? That thing that I failed to dodge. Perhaps I shall time my dodge better next time.
Yeah,
like that's
know
the process you need to go through. You're talking about people in like the open world MMO who use point blank shot on a ranger as a fucking DPS button. I can't do anything about that.
Yeah, it's more well, I think the play how you want is more like for open worlds, and it gets like more pigeonholed in other modes, but I don't know, just like the game is more like a casual type of game for the most part. It's just that
comparatively speaking to other MMOs, yeah.
Comparatively speaking, yes. Just because of the fact that you can leave and come back whenever you want, in addition to like the open world being super easy just to play alongside other people, but not
outside of the Maguma jungle.
Yes. Okay. I'll agree with that. Well, nowadays I guess you can just play it like for meta events. Right?
If you're around a bunch of other people, yes. If you are on your own, you
if you're
cannot act the same as you do in like Courtier or Path of Fire maps, in Heart of Thorns maps, because you will die.
Okay.
Mordrum snipers. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah. And
with yeah.
And I did see Chad saying earlier, like, you know, they need to bring dungeons back. I know. I think we all know.
I think we all agree with that.
Yeah, I can agree with that. Okay, because this whole thing has been, you know, a huge talk.
Yeah, I was gonna say I wanted it to respond to one of the chat's things, but at this point, I think we're really delving really far into.
I think it's what we want out of this announcement, I guess, and it's just accumulated to a bunch of different topics of discussion where, like, we want this for raids, we want this for fractals, we want this for open world, we want this for world versus world, we want this for PvP, and like basically it comes down to a lot of people want different things for the things that they play, and
you're trying to say this developing stuff is tough.
Dale, I see you highlighting the thing from Kroof this morning. By the way, Kroof Gaming. She does content on the YouTubes and I believe on the Twitches. The spell effects, and I do want to talk about that briefly.
Okay, yeah, no, I was gonna say, no, I don't think she phrased it as something of what she wanted to see announced at the August 30th thing, but I thought it'd be a good idea of like throwing some stuff out that other content creators, or you know, if you're commenting in the comment section on YouTube or saying stuff on the website, like stuff that you kind of want to see, and you know, it kind of turned into this of, you know, even Age said, but I think her video, which you posted, cool, was a simple thing of like spell effects and animations, kind of talking about calling the looks of the skills, because I still remember, granted, underwater combat isn't as highly sought after nowadays, but I still remember underwater combat with like when Guardians were super popular and it was just basically blinding. It made me think of that when she was talking about looks of stuff, and how I think she even said it uses a lot of the skills use a lot of the whites to be like almost blinding, and I wish it would add a little bit more color so it would kind of dim it down a little bit, but I don't know. I mean, what are your guys' thoughts on like the calling issue in general of skills don't feel as meaningful now that everything's kind of like, I mean, remember the fire shields and the elemental shields where it became like a little wispy line around your character?
It's much better now. Like in terms of PvP, it's just like it's harder to understand what's going on just because there's like a whole array of skills and combinations, and it's really fast paced. And I understand that's very difficult to understand, but it's like you have to actually play it a little bit and understand just to understand what's going on.
On a see, it kind of comes down to like 3 different game modes for this, but like PvP, there's not enough skill effects for culling to happen. So you see the skill effects so you can read stuff and you know what the heck's going on. Dub, just stay out of the red circles. You don't need to know what they do. Just stay out of the red circles. If you're in a red circle, make sure you're next to a healer or 6. In PvE, all of the bad circles are now orange with timer things in them, which are fantastic, and I'm happy about that. Get out of them before they fill up with the brighter orange color. I do wish that there was a checkbox in the video section that says don't call my spell effects, so that your personal spell effects always play at, you know, the maximum given your particle effect settings in the video setting.
That's really hard to do though.
Well, not really, because you have the particle effects attached to, like, they're already attached to your player character in the code.
Yeah.
So
I could
see it in my head. I don't know the exact code that they would write to do it, but like,
I just see it's easier to do an all or nothing versus like
I get that.
Yeah.
Like, but that would be like my kind of like,
yeah,
way out of this whole thing is just I literally would like to see a checkbox that don't call my spell effects. Because I remember when they added that in for the auto attack for Fireball, the auto attack fire staff 1 on Elementalist, and I saw the culled version of it. It's just a little teeny tiny little dot fire. It's like they literally just made the particle effect itself 75% smaller. It was just kind of funny to see, but that's where I'm at with that. But it's really hard to, when you're basically expecting upwards of 100 people in a single area to have all of these skill effects, it's kind of hard to program super huge particle effects and actually make a game that's not a slideshow.
Yeah.
Like, we don't want Karka Queen release 2.0.
Yeah, I remember Lost Shores was the update. Boy, I don't know. Maybe we do. They send everybody a bunch of legendaries. I mean,
sorry, that was out loud.
honestly, they could utilize sound a bit more rather than visual to indicate spellcasts. I wouldn't mind seeing that. I mean, or I guess not seeing it, hearing it.
They do have call outs, but I think those get called a lot too in large situations. I know they're in for PvP, because when you know a Deadeye has marked you, you hear the call out from the Deadeye. Like, you know that the Deadeye has called target on you, basically, along with the giant particle effect that appears on your head. You hear the voice line, and then there's the audio cue too. So, and that's kind of my point. In a huge crowd, does it really matter? Like, do you really need to see your spell effects when you're fighting Tequatl, other than seeing the ring where you dropped everything, just to make sure you have everything in it? Oh God, Mfongo. Ugh. I believe it. But that's just that's just the thing that I kind of wanted to bring up, because it's a.
I have heard the Chad's bringing up, kind of related to this, of changing your effects through the gem store. I have heard that in the past. I would be intrigued by it, but I mean, they have kind of pushed so much that they always want people to be able to, the whole silhouette thing, but also visually be able to tell what someone is by them casting it. So I don't know if we'd ever see that, but I mean, I know so many times, like my Guardian, I kind of have a, red and gold look. Kind of hurts a little bit every time I cast a blue spell. I'm like, it could be a red spell, or but so for Fashion Wars itself, I love that idea, but I feel like they'd have to kind of go against that original thought, which who knows, they might. Couldn't they piggyback off the existing system that allows you to turn off legendary projectiles? That I don't know. I don't know how easy it would be to piggyback off of a system, and with always hear about the spaghetti code, and
that would depend on how legendary aura effects are coded. If that's tied to an item, although, well, that's the kit. That's kind of one of the things, like that's what the culling is. But you'd have to manually go into your visual stuff and clank things down. So no, you're right, Luna. Like there's nothing wrong with thinking about that. Like that's a good place to start with, like selling particle effects or something.
Mm-hmm.
That is a great place to start.
And we're not at that one yet, but I like Chad saying, why play the game if all the good stuff is on the gem store? Which, first off,
we're getting there.
Subjective. Yeah, first off, subjective, and second off, not needed. So, unless you want a subscription game,
not. I don't like that argument of not needed, though. It's like, I want the shiny.
and they do offer them, but we'll get to that because we have charts that show that they do offer a sizable chunk of stuff in game. Whether it's your ideal preference, that comes down to the player.
We'll get into it. Yeah.
But before we get to more Fashion Wars stuff, they did say that there was going to be a PvP update arriving August 13th, which will be this Tuesday. In the blog post, they said that there would be a new 2v2 map, Auric Span, which here is a little screenshot that they showed off of it. But basically the rules are elimination, which is best of 3. The gameplay variant would be at 2 minutes, healing and stealth are disabled, and area of effect damage will begin to invade the arena.
The storm ring is closing. Get to a safe location.
Yeah. Well, I'll say, didn't they do that with one of the other? Didn't they put out a couple 2v2 maps, or
they're in customs though?
Yeah, just custom arena, only.
I think the floor, the lower level, gets electrified. Honestly, this is what, the third 2v2 map release?
Yeah.
This could be a legit queue anytime now.
Will they?
Will they? Maybe. But they have enough maps to make it an actual queue.
Yeah.
Although I kind of expected you to twitch a little bit more when Deo went over the no stealth after 2 minutes.
I didn't think of that. I was like, maybe I don't want him carrying me anymore, because apparently he won't be able to stealth.
Kill him within 2 minutes.
That's the spirit. You're back on the team. I was worried there for a second.
But no one plays custom.
Wait, why am I trying to encourage you to take me into PvP? Anyway,
you caught the bug, Deo.
No, I really didn't. But yeah, like, because this is just for customs as well, right? This isn't a.
Seems like it. I don't know. I think the population's too low for queues right now. I don't know.
Yeah, like I said, I hope that this does lead to maybe a different queue type thing, and maybe then a queue of I don't care what I just want a PvP type thing. But yeah, I would like to see more map type structures, like maybe a capture the flag style set of queues, and whatever. I mean, we already have like a domination type or capture point or whatever you want to call it. We have the courtyard, and now this just seems like pure elimination. So I don't know, whatever other game type modes I can think of from other like shooter style things. That's where I've been used to it. Maybe like assault and defense, but I don't know exactly how well that would work in this. But I don't know. We shall see. But they did show us there are some new Mist Lord weapons, which they didn't show us them previously to help you vote on the name. And of course, Mist Lord 1, which for a quick refresher, this is what the weapons kind of look like, which they do look pretty good. I mean, but yeah, I mean, well, I think I asked this last time when they first showed them is, would these get you skins? Would these skins get you back into PvP?
If they were unique to PvP. Which they're not.
I'll say I don't think so. I think you also do have a World v World reward track for it. So,
yeah.
I keep saying PvP needs unique stuff. They keep giving it to PvP and WV. WW is far easier to acquire anything because you join up with a Zerg and you wait for your reward track to fill.
Oh yeah, sorry, not a reward track. It was for like chat saying World Reward skirmish tickets.
Either way, like you just wait for the currency to flow in.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. WW is a far easier way to acquire this. This isn't meh.
Yeah,
I mean, they look cool, but conceptually, the way you acquire them, meh.
No, I agree with you. It's chat saying they're better than the obsidian weapons, which I would go towards these faster than probably the obsidian weapons. So personally, but
yeah, but Netco running around with Zerg will get you more rewards on top of this. Like WW would get you these faster with more rewards as well than just going into PvP for them. But that's neither here nor there. Moving on.
Yep. Also, for all you people that like to make tons of different builds, GW2skills.net has made a new version of their site and build editor 6.0. Just in case if you guys at all want it, or the link in chat. That's to the GW2skills.net itself. But they redesigned the site structure to make the build editor the main point in the navigation tree. All the other useful information was moved into a simple wiki with easy access from any page of the site, and the current in-game balance has been uploaded into the site's database. So
it's Solved Friday now.
Yeah, it looks real good.
Solved Friday.
It's a lot more responsive too.
Yeah, I really like it.
Like they did just a bang up job with the netcode for that. That's good.
I also really like the if you go into the heavy armored target, so like you have the golems,
you can sim the damage.
Yeah, so it's really cool.
That's really nice. Yeah,
updated the boons and conditions, all that stuff. It's fantastic. I really like it.
That and all of your old links still work. Like if you had saved builds previously.
Yeah.
Oh, that's nice.
And if you are a raider, you can simulate the buffs on you as well.
Oh, like a raider, like someone that goes in and says, "Oh, I like this build, 5 stars." That type of raider.
No, like if you want to make like a build and see like the different things, so you can put on like Fury and things like that. It's really nice. I dig it.
Yeah, definitely looks nice. I know a lot of people are always looking for like build sites and stuff like that, and I know it's been hit or miss type things, and some people
Completely
going here,
unrelated
some people
chat. I
going
just want
there.
to say I absolutely love when Age just steamrolls over Deo's jokes. It makes me happy.
Makes me happy too.
I'm a little sad inside. I go, oh.
Well, no, I love your pun transitions, but like,
Yeah, I know.
it's the interaction between everything that I enjoy. That's why I'm still here. And because y'all actually listen to me rant about game balance, so.
Yeah. Well, I know we talked about it last week, and I know one of my hopes was because they were showing that we actually do get rewards in game, because everybody says all the good stuff is in the gem store, which good is subjective, but it's like, oh, all the rewards are in the gem store. Everything's put in the gem store. Though they showed a lot, there's a lot of stuff in there, and I even said on the show, I was like, I hope they maybe try to compare it to the gem store stuff, which once again I do want to thank Sky High for doing it. And here is the different charts, the many different charts, which I'll throw it over. I'll give you guys the link to the Reddit post, that way you can see the document and all that kind of stuff, all the different ones. But
the previous thread is also linked in that thread, so
yes,
you have access to everything there if you missed last
so yeah, they did kind of the same ground rules, divided the gem store items into the year and quarter of their first release, so not if they're reoccurring type thing. Did not include items that have in-game methods of acquisition, aka the Aether Blade weapons, included an item if you can buy it on the TP, so all the Blackline weapon skins. And also included items that have only been available on Blackline chest drops or through tokens dropped by Blackline chests. If an item is available both in a bundle and solo, it is listed wherever it first appeared in any form. And they looked at the gem store items since the game launched, but only did a comparison for the time period of hot release and later. And also the last ground rule was have almost certainly missed some items. So this might give us a good idea, but they do reserve that they might have overlooked stuff, because when I was saying like, oh, I would like it if I had the time to, compare it to the gem store stuff. But like we said, they've kind of released things on like a 2-week cadence continuously for that. That's a lot of stuff to sift through. So I honestly, like I said, kudos to them for even relatively coming close.
Yeah.
Also, Mr. The number of die channels, you can have 3 and 4 die channel stuff for the collection achievements in in-game stuff too. Actually, most armor that I remember, it's 3 and 4 stuff. Well, they did do the outfits as 6 armor pieces, because that's effectively what they are in comparison.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's an important note, because I would say to look at it as 6 pieces cosmetically, because it will cover the 6 spots on your armor, which in the end, like I said, that actually helps the people that arguing there's more stuff in the gem store. But if you look at it, a lot of the stuff is fairly close, I would say. I mean, it's not a 50-50 split or anything, or like, but
weapons,
it is,
I would say yes.
Huh?
Armor is very kind of just debatable for this season anyway, but yeah.
What was it? What was the armor set from the one where Aureen died? Spoilers. I can't remember the name of that armor set. But you know what I'm talking about. There's
Dragon's Blood?
The Dragon's Blood. Well, that was with the Dragon's Blood weapons.
Yeah. Do you want before that? Oh. You mean the episode before that?
Was it the episode before that?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's Elegy, I think.
Yeah, I can't. That might have been. I thought Elegy was from earlier than that.
But honestly, I'd have to look. Aren't there gem store skins that have one die slot? Like, I don't think we should balance it to how
I'm not
many
even comparing
die
dice.
slots are on something, as long as it makes sense. Like,
Yeah,
I'm not
don't
comparing
arbitrarily
dice slots.
divide something.
Dice slots is very the only thing that dice slots really matter for are gliders and mounts, in
Mount
my
skins.
opinion. Like when it comes to armor, it's fairly decent, the dice slots. So I would just compare like the actual items themselves.
But
And it's also important. Once again, they're not even still not including. I think they said War v World, PvP, and rating. Like it's
This is
still
all
on
just
the
PvE
basis
stuff.
of, yeah, it's still on the basis of PvE, open world kind of, and living story.
there
But-
is.
So it
I
would even be
suppose-
higher
Sorry, go ahead.
of that. No, I'm just saying it would even be higher on that side of in-game stuff that you can earn.
Mhm.
Well, see, Mister, that's the thing, is things that are special. That's entirely subjective.
Yeah, some people don't want to look
Like,
sparkly and flashy.
Kit was just saying up above in chat that she wanted when we were talking about the particle effects, that she wanted an option to turn off other people's particle effects because she doesn't want to be blinded when she walks into an area. So it's and honestly, I think it's part of the perception here is the fact that it is far easier to throw your wallet at the screen to get a thing than it is to do the collection to get a thing. Like, if that was the case, what do you mean if what was the case? Like, I don't know what you're responding to there. Well, Hush, I'll get to your point because you're talking about adventure management stuff, and that's my shit, man. If people like dull armors, my Revenant's entire set is all green armor skins from the base game, save for the blindfold, but and that's what I wanted.
And you don't think there would be an issue of if they put in dull looking armor sets that don't have particles, they'd probably be like, well, that's not worth it. Because they would keep it at the same price point of $700 for an outfit. You know, I mean, they don't do full sets anymore.
The Leyline armor set from is that Tangled Depths?
Yeah.
No,
You can
Or-
alter.
Oh no, wait, yeah, no,
It's
you're right.
Tangled Depths, I think. Yeah, you can. I think you get to alter the particle effects when you dye the laystone. I could be wrong on that, but
No,
there's still particle effects on that, and that's an in-game armor.
And yeah, like Chad saying, the Requiem stuff is all glowy dyeable mist effects, auras.
yeah, no, like because like the argument is there's more things in the gem store than in the game, and this kind of disproves that. Now, if we get into the nitty gritty of like there are better looking armors in the gem store than in the game, then maybe yes, I could agree with that. But then I have to look through every single one of those.
But that's the problem. That
and
comes
it's
down
very-
to
it's also, yes, I know it's very subjective.
because I could get someone that like is like in their spare time a hobbyist of like blacksmithing stuff, and they might be like, look at the intricacy design on the ring mail shoulder piece, but yeah, look at this guy with the glowy corgi head coming out of the shoulder piece. That's not realistic. Like, you know, it's people's different flavors that come to it, but
There's a
I need
corgi head.
I need the giant corgi head. Where is that, Dale? I need that. I need to rub that gnarly.
oh, did I just? Oh, that's the August 30th announcement. Oh God, Arena. It's good. No, not really, but
yeah. But it's like, yes, I understand it gets subjective at that point. But for me personally, I would say I would have to look through like legit everything and just make a decision then. But
and
most
Chad's
people,
saying that there's only flashy stuff in the gem store. No, there isn't. The
there's
mount skins.
more flash. Maybe
There's more
flash.
flashy. Yeah.
Maybe.
That you're also using sweeping statements without data.
And this is kind of the problem, right? Everyone's gonna like when everyone says there's more things in the gem store than in the game, and then they prove it, then it gets narrowed down. It's like, oh well, what if there's more flash? And then like it's like, oh, I have to prove this too. And then
It's called moving the goalposts.
yeah. So
Is the argument is made, like the big sweeping statement is made, and then when it's disproven, the goal is changed. So, it's
Yep.
just the flashier stuff that's in the gem store.
But
It's the
chat,
flashy
what
stuff.
I'm talking about is
That's-
they do offer in the gem store regular looking mount skins, which aren't
No.
flashy.
No.
They offer a selection of both.
Now you're talking about something very different. So mount.
Well, but I'm
mount
talking about there is a precedent of they
Let him
offer
finish with the
regular
mount
looking
skins.
stuff.
No, I'm talking about now. He's talking about mount skins and poly gliders. There are no. There, yeah, I understand. There's no mounts. There's no in-game attainable mount skin in the game, which I do disagree with, and I do say that they should put a skin that
There's one obtainable in game, the
base
default one.
No, that doesn't
That-
count.
Why
No,
not?
No.
That's a skin.
That's the
Is
mount.
it still there when you switch to a different one? No, because it's a skin. I'm sorry, it's not the one you like.
I will, Deo. I'm gonna have to disagree with you on this one, but like the default, that'd be like saying you have to use the iron sword.
Yeah, but wouldn't you call that the default skin? It is technically a skin earnable in game. Do I want to see more? Yes,
That's
but
what you get with the mount. No, I disagree with that. I'm sorry. What I would say was I would want a skin that gives the default, but you have 4 die channels.
Though that's kind of the thing that I talked about with like the armored or war mount thing that I talked about, like a collection after you get the mastery track finished before, right?
Yeah, something like
I
that.
agree with
I don't
that.
know what they would have to do for it.
So
but
it's one of those things where the mount skins is where we get into stuff that is definitely designed more like mobile game freemium economy, because you have the default thing you are given, which, okay, yes, if you want to get pedantic, it is a default skin, yes, but it is objectively at a disadvantage in comparison to everything that is available to purchase for money, because literally everything else is available for purchase for money.
But I would still argue in the case of mounts and gliders, because people say like, oh, there's no skins in game. It would be like buying a tux or a suit. You can get the suit, but you have on your sleeves buttons that keep them in there. Now the buttons are plain and standard, but you could get cufflinks. Are they needed? No. But does it make it look a little bit flashier, nicer? Yes.
Mofongo, I don't know how much I want to include the legendary gliders in this.
Yeah, but they're achievable in game.
They are. Yes.
Okay.
They are a
okay.
skin achievable in game. I mean,
all right. Okay, I'll give you that one.
You're right. Now, see, Mister. The only problem is we've gone from the flashy stuff narrowed all the way down to mount skins and glider skins now. So, which I'll agree is the most egregious form of gem store shenaniganery, especially because you have to get the mount skins via either a mount loot box or a choosy ticket for 3 times the price. But again, the goalposts have been moved to narrow it down to just to gliders and mounts.
Yeah. The whole point of these graphs is just to show the difference between gem store and in-game. That's it. I do agree that the mount thing was an issue, like in terms of buying things, but it still is an issue, but it's not the argument being made here. People don't want to buy ugly skins, of course.
I mean, it's the same argument that we're having before. It's all subjective. I mean,
yeah.
I mean, I could actively want to purchase, a mount skin that looks like a scrap mech.
I just want to earn it. I've said this at the beginning. I just want to earn. I would like to earn a skin in the game if it like.
No,
just,
Mister, it's okay. Sorry. Go ahead, Edge. I apologize.
Yeah, no, I was just saying I want to earn I want to earn a skin in the game, and if it has like a legendary status, sure, okay, I'll go for it. And if they put in one in PvP, one in World vs. World, one in I don't know, like fractals, and another one in raids or whatever, like that'd be fine with me. But that's not obtainable, and it sucks. I agree with that.
Now, I very specifically want to talk what Mr. said here is if you don't like it, just leave. We have at 0 points in this entire show and the history of this channel ever said that. Not a single person who has ever been a host on a guest on this podcast has ever said that.
Well, I'm not gonna ever guarantee that, but I know we don't try to just.
Fair.
But in all honesty, that is the power of a consumer. Put your money where your mouth is. Like, not saying leave, but don't spend the item. Guess what? If they're not gonna make any money on the gem store thing, they're not gonna put it in the gem store.
Mr. Red says something that's interesting for me, and I felt that way with the PvP back piece. So he said, I like to have skins that have meaning. So with the PvP back piece, that first season of playing, like when I got that back piece, it's like I would play during season 1. I played enough to actually get it. I worked hard to get it. And then they just made it available like in the future. So that took away the meaning for me, and I don't show that back piece because like it's meaningless to me now to have it, because like anyone can have it at that point.
And honestly,
I use the Ascension just because I like the look of it. But
and honestly, like chat was asking of, do you think people would be happier if you could earn a mount skin in game but it costs 200 gold? And the chat also responded with yes. Okay, do that with a mount in the gem store. If it's just a gold sync thing, you can, and I know people don't like that argument, but if you're thinking that 200 gold is the achieving of it, then gold to gems.
You want the significance of, and this is why I prefer collections over just a gold sync. But you want to.
No, I agree.
If you have this skin they could only obtain in game, and it's like a hard obtainable skin, it's like, and you show it off, it's like, yeah, I did this content, right? That's okay. I think that's what people want.
Okay, well,
so then the gem store to in-game.
Oh, you need the devs to hold your hand along the way. You need, like they said, a collection or a journey. Because guess what?
Don't say hold hand, because you still have to do a thing.
Well, but I'm just saying. No, I mean they have to guide you. If you want a journey while you get your 200 gold, you can go to multiple places. You can have your own journey.
I think we're moving away from straight up gold sync to it's a collection. Like think about the Griffin. Griffin ultimately cost 250 gold to unlock, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, but you have to do a lot of
But you had to do other stuff too. I think that's more what we're talking about here. It's not just here, drop this gold into just click on this thing and spend 200 gold to get the skin.
Well, can I say I thoroughly hated that? If I jump through all these hoops and then you're like, oh, here's a bill for 250 gold. I'm like, son of a...
Would you prefer the sky scale method acquisition then?
Without time gates?
Without time gates? Or like you prefer that but without time gates?
Yeah.
So you just do content. Okay, so that's fine. So let's say it's just, let's say there's a mount in the game and you have to do something equivalent to the sky scale acquisition with or without time gates. It's you do collections basically. And I think that's what people want more of. And and like for the flashier things, flashier obviously is subjective, but I think that's what people want more of, rather than all the flashy things in the gem store. Like for example, remember that skin where that Mist Warrior type of outfit with the shield and was it an axe?
The outsider skin.
Yeah, the outsider skin. Like I remember when I read it off Instagram, it like they had that little tagline, and I thought it was going to be like a mini current event type of deal, that like you had to do something in order to get like, you know, parts of that armor or something like that. I think that's what people want more of. And I think that's the overlying issue with all of this, like gem store versus in-game stuff. Like people want the content in order to get these cool different like pieces of armor or weapons or things like that.
Like a legendary or legendary armor.
Yeah, like if you did like back during the original Gen 2 those 4 legendaries where you had to do like stories and you figured out like the different things for like the tiger thing, that was really cool. Or what are they called, the Jotun, and how they're like close to the astrology, that type of thing. That was kind of cool. That was interesting. And on top of that, you work towards something that was cool to boot. I think people want more of that. I think that's the overlying issue between all this jump sorting.
Which is what the last Living Story season gave us, because we had the Dragon's Blood weapons, the armor. There were a whole bunch of skins. All of the metas for each of the chapters gave us a unique skin out of it. So they've been doing, and honestly,
they've been doing precisely what you guys are detailing.
Yeah, like for Vision, that's exactly. I like Vision. I'm slowly working on it because there's like a lot of things to it, but eventually it get done, and there's a sense of accomplishment that versus me actually like doing it in between the cake. But that's a different thing.
Chad is saying prestige is mounts and gliders. I don't.
But
it's just another fashion accessory like a helm or anything else.
But people want access to just a little.
They want to be big and annoying.
No, they want like a little fraction of that in the game so that they can obtain it. It doesn't have to be as prestigious as the gem store or what have you, but like just having an option to get it in the game and purely in the game, not converting gold to gems or whatever.
How many outfits in the gem store? All but one. I don't know how many they have total, but because there was one that was offered early on in game.
Amount?
No, they were saying outfits.
Oh no, outfits is not part of my scope in particular, just because I think mounts are just like the more current issue. But yeah, I think there were 1 or 2 outfits you could via other.
The hexed outfit from Halloween, and then there was the one when they did the release, like the announcement for Heart of Thorns, that has the helmet. That
outfits I don't really care as much, just because we have armor pieces that we can just skin on. So it's like pick your poison in that point. But I feel like mounts are more of a debatable option just because they're so clear cut in terms of there are skins here but no skins here.
Yeah, it's mounts are, again, we're saying that mounts are probably the most egregious thing in the gem store, which I don't think anybody here is disagreeing with.
No. Granted, I'd like to see at least one in there, but I also know that this is a buy-to-play game that doesn't have a subscription.
That's fine.
Do need to make money somewhere. I wish it wouldn't be loot boxes. Like, I wish it would have, been like they did with gliders. Here's a new glider. You pay for it, you get it. It was 400 to 600 gems for a glider, and then 700 for the glider backpack combos. Yeah, I think so.
And then I think when we talked about it, when the first mount pack came out, there were like some real basic skins that looked like they were just here, have 4 die channels.
But here's the thing. Like, I have literally except for the World vs. World back piece, I have all the other legendary back pieces that are gliders, but I still buy gliders at the same time. So because of like different cool gliders as well. So I still think you can have the best of both worlds.
You can ask me what I actually do after the show, because we're kind of divulging. We're kind of getting into just random stuff. But yes, I like playing video games and earning things. So, but I don't know. I feel like this shows that the split isn't as bad as people are making it out to be.
I can agree with that.
I agree with that.
Especially over the last couple seasons. It has been worse, but they have listened to people.
Yeah. I think they needed to up one of the things. I think they pointed out one thing that they needed to.
Season 3 was really bad with stuff in the gem store.
Okay.
Story
and I think that's the biggest problem is a lot of people still feel like
it's season 3.
Well, and I think the problem is it's like every 2 weeks, like clockwork, or even every week, they'll either remind you about the gem store or put in a new thing. Like, so it always feels constant. It's like, and like we said last week, I think it's also a problem is we do it because everybody in chat and everybody that watches streams and all that stuff are quote unquote more educated or more invested, where they are constantly looking at this stuff. But if you're a player that just which is the majority of the player base that just logs in and plays the game, it doesn't constantly go, hey, there's new stuff in the gem store. Hey, like there isn't like, it doesn't push you to the gem store at all. It just logs you in and go play.
I will admit, like the thing they do to get you is if you have anything on the trading post, you have to go to either the NPC or when you click whatever key you have it bound to, it goes to the gem store first. Then you have to click the tab for the trading post. Yeah. But that's about it. It's not like you get a pop-up every time you log in game, which I play a mobile game called Summoner's War. Every like 3 or 4 times a day when I play, I have to close pop-ups and say, hey, we've got these deals going on. You can find them right here. Guild Wars 2 doesn't do that.
Yeah, so. I find it interesting how if you are just like a player who doesn't go out of their way, like just plays the game type of deal. Usually, like back in the day, I used to be that type of player. And the thing I found out about cool prestigious items in the game was like by word of mouth, by other people, guildies, and things like that. So then I was like, oh, cool. How do you get that? And then we would like do the content type of deal. Like I have, for all my heroes in Guild Wars 1, I have them all in a skin type of deal. Like, because there are like 2 variants, I think. And like, if I had one for one character, I had the other for another character I had. It was a lot of fun to get those. And I did a bunch of content for it. For, what is that, Obsidian armor? Was the highest prestige what armor set in the game? I think it was Obsidian armor. It's like I still don't have that, but yeah, it's like things like that. So it's just very interesting how that dynamic has changed slightly. So I don't know if people perceive it the same way, but this has gone really deep, really fast.
Yeah.
So
speaking of gem store,
yeah, this is never gonna be a good segue. But yeah, yeah, there's no real good way to say it, but yeah, gem store's up next. But yeah, no, there is no good way to say it after having that argument. So in the gem store, we have for 600 gems the Aspect Master's Greatsword. Skin, of course. Like I said, for 600 gems. Also, if you want, they've added the let me see here. I have it here somewhere. Where is it? The Pyre Gloves skin, which will unlock all 3 setups there, or weight classes, is for 500 gems. But so those are the new items. Are either of those something that you would pick up? Possibly go on the adventure that you would want and then trade the gold for gems? Or just pay for it outright?
I think it's sold down, by the way. But I don't think the greatsword looks like a greatsword, in my opinion.
It looked a little weird, but
it looked like a sword, like a double.
It's a lot of handle.
Yeah.
Well, that's a problem with a lot of the greatswords in the game. Is there a lot of handle?
Am I looking at it oddly, or
is
it a 2-pronged blade?
It is a 2-pronged blade, yes, I think. But also, it depends. There might be it might be angling away from the camera. I don't know what animation that is. I think that's a mesmer animation.
It's weird, man.
Yeah, it looks like it's. Well, I'm curious.
Okay. I don't know. It's odd for me it's odd to call it a great sword, in my opinion, but I like the hilt. They are vertical, the sword is spinner. Oh, okay. Yeah. I'm gonna look for another picture. That's throwing me off.
But while you look that up, like I said, those are the new items. But also in the gem store, the anniversary sale was going on. Stuff that dropped in August 6th. The Exosuit Mounts Pack for 1,200 gems, which is 40% off, is still up there. Path of Fire Preparation Pack, which is 2,625 gems, which is 25% off. The dynamic exosuit appearance pack is unfortunately gone. In August 7th, both the Defiant Glass appearance package and the White Mantle appearance package are gone, but they were originally 15% off. The August 8th one, which is ending soon, so if you do want it, do hurry up. The Casimir's package, which is 1,360 gems, and also Rox's package, which is 1,360 gems, both at a 15% off discount.
It might be gone, actually.
Oh, it might be? Okay.
Yeah.
Well, the August 9th brought us some All or Nothing appearance package, which is 1,700 gems at 15% off. Shrine of the Guardian appearance package at 1,700 gems, which is 15% off. And the Reforged Warhound Jackal skin at 1,600 gems, which is 20% off. August 10th, we've seen the Bandit Sniper appearance package at 1,700 gems, the Timekeepers package at 1,700 gems, which are both 15% off, and the Resplendent Aviolin Raptor skin for 1,600 gems at 20% off.
That's the Glitter Raptor, if you want
I think
the colloquial name.
The Glitter Raptor. August 11th, Timey's package and Zafira's package are both 1,700 gems at 15% off. And the Umbral Demon Skimmer skin at 1,600 gems, which is 20% off. And then August 12th, we will see the Grand Line Griffin skin at 1,600 gems, which is 20% off. So if you are preparing for those ones, just have your gems or your gold prepared. Return this week, the Shrine Guardian Jackal skin, the Dreadnought Raptor skin, and the Magnificent Hummingbird Skimmer skin, all for 2,000 gems. But yeah, any of those things that you would recommend or pick up yourself, maybe now that they're on sale? What's that?
Shrine Jackal Guardian is the best. It's like if you like Okami, you'll just get the skin.
It's an Untitled Kitsune.
Yeah.
Or it looks a lot like Amaterasu, like from Okami. Well, see, Mister, this is the kind of I have the Grand Lion because I thought the Grand Lion was freaking awesome.
Yeah.
Like I bought the Grand Lion Griffin skin. I am not ashamed of this fact. I hadn't purchased gems from Guild Wars 2 in like 8 months. So it's not like I'm not the person you hear of throwing my wallet at the screen every time an update to the gem store happens.
Yeah, honestly, so, I haven't. While I think some of the skins are very nice, 2,000 gem price point is out of my pay range, and I haven't.
Think the only time you've ever bought a mount, it was when it was a pack for 1,600. Right?
Wasn't the branded?
No, I haven't bought any mount skins. I've been considering a lot of them, but then I was just like, a lot of times I'm like, I'm not playing enough to warrant even the 1,600 gem price point. But I do feel if you do like all those ones in those mount packs, it is of course a better value. Like the actually I think I did buy the first Halloween ones for extra die channels.
It's like I have the Grand Line.
Now that I remember, but I have not changed them in so long.
And I think I have the Exosuit mount pack, and that's it. Which those are pretty freaking cool. And honestly, like that was the thing. I remember when we were talking about Path of Fire when they're like mounts, and we're just like, can't wait to see what they do for mount skins.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I will say that the 2K mount skins are, I think, actually a good example of gem store items.
What do you mean by that?
I think that they are priced prohibitively so that you have to look at them and say, yeah, I really like that and I really think it's worth it, and then you buy it. That is to say, for a person who does not have a gotta catch 'em all kind of mentality. But like I've looked, all of the other 2K mount skins, they look fantastic. The Grand Lion Griffin is the only one that I felt that the need to overcome the 2K gem barrier to buy.
Yeah, I guess I felt that way about the Shrine Guardian.
So it's these. I do not think that these mount skins are the egregious ones because I think they're actually priced decently as one-offs.
Yeah, it's like I do like that fact that they are so expensive that you have to like really like it in order to buy it. I don't, but that's just us, I guess. I don't know if there's like another mentality that would facilitate. Maybe I'll get it, maybe not. It's like, oh, I
Well,
already
Mister,
bought it.
that's the point. Like having it be a lot is the point. That's what I'm talking about. Having something prohibitively priced.
Yeah, we've debated the prices for mount skins a lot when they first came out.
Now, granted, I do have a problem with gems as a currency and the fact that you can't buy exact currency for it. But
Yeah.
well, they all have unique animations and particle effects and sounds. Luna, I'm pretty sure every single 2K mount skin has. They're basically legendaries.
Yeah, we like honestly, it's not like when we get into pricing, it's not necessarily we're talking about Guild Wars 2. We're talking about the game industry as a whole because
Yeah,
skins are a lot in games these days, honestly, and they put it and they put it in a different currency format so that you don't necessarily feel like you're spending as much.
you disconnect from actual currency.
Yeah, unless you actually convert it yourself, like type of
You
deal.
have to, you have like you're saying it's 25 euro. Well, it's like, yeah, it's like it's roughly still 25 USD. It's okay. Yeah, I'm sitting here. I look at it and I see 2K gems and that's $25. There are people, oh, it's only 2,000 gems.
Yeah, like for me, like actually most recently in League of Legends, they came out with a new line of project skins. So I bought all 5 of them and it cost me like what? $80?
But that's just because you are super invested in the entire project line.
Yeah, I am. I have
Because
every project skin.
That's your aesthetic right there.
I love, yeah. For me, I like Cyberpunk. So and I like League of Legends, and I like the project skins. So I'm like, I'm gonna buy them probably no matter what. But even though I could probably RNG try to get one, but anyway.
Also, K-Chip also brought up a good point of the mount skins not being in the wardrobe unlock. Again, that goes back to the mount skins being kind of the more egregious kind of monetization that exists in the game.
Yeah, I feel like skin pricing is definitely a game industry issue, if we can call it an issue.
Though I think it's a more, in my opinion, safer and a bit more beneficial way, unless it's used in a manner of loot boxes and stuff.
Yes.
If it was just here's the item and buy it, especially if it's a free-to-play game, like, then sell your cosmetics, granted at the price that you think people will buy, and if people just have to get better at, if it isn't at the price point, you have the money, you don't give it to them. If they're not selling it, all of a sudden you'll start seeing things on sale and the price actually change.
Yeah.
Or even a buy-to-play game, because they're not getting a subscription, like they're not getting consistent money coming in, so they do have to kind of do the same thing as well.
Yeah, it's a buy to play and free to play kind of justified their cash shops are justified just because in order to keep the lights on they have to put out this content, whereas a single player game is its lifespan is very finite, and then it has to like put out a new game in order to keep the lights on. But now I'm getting to other stuff. I really don't want to.
We could save it for after show, but Chad, I wasn't referring to Guild Wars 2 as a free-to-play game. I know the difference between free-to-play and buy-to-play. I was just saying free-to-play games in a general sense, cosmetics, but also I would say it still applies to a buy-to-play game like Guild Wars 2, especially if they're considering moving away from X packs. At least that's what it sounds like from their Mike Z's post early on in the year, and them building this hype around Living Story, which has so far been known to be free to play. Well, free to play in the sense of you don't have to pay anything extra. But
yeah, it's yeah. I'm gonna just go into a whole thing if I start now.
It's not just cosmetics and like Is there something that increases your stats? Almost mandatory, which means not mandatory.
Or I think they're just getting stuff like boosters or things.
That's definitely after show stuff. So
Okay.
community corner, and then we're hitting after show because we're already at a 2.5 hour show.
Oh, really?
It's 6:25, man.
Oh yeah, jeez.
All right. Last up in community corner. Always thank you to everybody in the community for making all this stuff. So first up, Mighty Teapot's Elitist Raiding Party Tournament. We've talked about it before. It, of course, will be on Mighty Teapot's Twitch channel. But also, if you want to help support it, there is a match arena, which basically every time you click on it, it helps generate, some money towards the thing. But yeah, it's community driven. It's over 130,000 gold and currently $2.4 thousand. It's going from August 25th to the 26th. So,
Nice. That I'm still kind of want to be in a. That's a cool thing. Like that much gold, not much money for a purely community driven tournament is actually really cool to see. So.
Yeah, should be fun. Also, Chronicles of Tyria's summer short stories every week until October 19th. A Guild Wars 2 community writer will publish a Guild Wars 2 short story on their website. Which, in case if you want to check it out, there's been, pretty much all. Like I've loved each one of them. I think they're really good. It's, writers got to start out somewhere. I know some story writers have gone to do like either the kind of games journalism stuff, or stuck with maybe even got a job at a net writing story or another company. I mean, but
can I guest write a short story? That'd be kind of neat.
You should go talk to him. But also this past week there was a tweet from Gamers Giving Back, the people that do multiple events, but I think the biggest one that a lot of people have known in the past is Pink Day in LA. They are looking for people to help plan Pink Day in LA 2019. The meeting will be August 12th at 7 p.m. CEST, 1 p.m. ET, and 10 a.m. PT. So there's the link to the tweet, and if you're watching this on YouTube or anywhere else, links should be in the description for all the stuff that we've been talking about. Also, a cool little thing, the Guild Wars 2 Artists Collective, as you can see it here, has made another project, the Tyrian Gazette. It's an Indiegogo campaign. Throw the links in chat as well. Also to their Twitter, that case if you want to see any other stuff. But it is order requests are live until September 10th. The book's 82 contributors are making an in-game magazine where all ads, articles, and designs are made in a way to recreate how a magazine might look in the world of Tyria if you were walking these streets today. And so do note that this is a physical item, but it's supposed to be inspired by maybe a magazine that you would see in the world of Tyria. So it isn't like an in-game item that you're getting or anything like that. But yeah, the proceeds donated will go to Extra Life. And at the beginning, they did have some limited Guild Wars 2 merchandise, but unfortunately that all sold out. So definitely, if you want to get in on this, you definitely have to act fast. But
I do.
I'll go.
I'm very tempted to get the dual set.
But also Kit the Traveler, who I think was in chat earlier. I'm not sure if she's still here. Wouldn't blame her. It is a long episode this week apparently. But she put out another of her Secrets of Tyria, the Shattered Ice Ruins jumping puzzle and diving goggles. So for people who don't know, this is a jumping puzzle in Frostgorge Sound, which not only gets you an achievement for doing the jumping puzzle, and also diving goggles to put you towards another achievement. But I think they've used this a couple of times for some of the in-game some of the back piece collections. I know that like where you'd have to go up to the very end and click on that shard of ice or something, but yeah, so if you want a quick and easy refresher course, or if you're new to the game and have come across this jumping puzzle and are having trouble, because if you're new to the game, it might be a little bit tough since you have enemies firing at you the whole time to slow you down. But yeah, I would definitely recommend checking it out. Last but not least, we were talking about Kroof earlier, but Kroof actually made another of her series that she's did in the past, which were fan-made elite specs. And do note that these are fan-made. These aren't like official news things like leaks from ArenaNet. These are just creative ideas from people that submitted to her. You should see some of the past ones, but the one that she was submitted to this week or this time was the Witchblade, which would have been a Necro elite spec with a main hand sword. And the idea behind it was kind of a PvP focus, which I know during the video she was like interested in it, but like unsure how much people would like it. But I mean, we've seen like Engineer, the Scrapper was kind of PvP focus, so it's not a bad thing to have a focus towards that. But and also it uses shroud skills, which is a ritual type, using ritual type of skills within it, which was kind of interesting because it was kind of task oriented to gain a full effect. So it would give you like an initial effect, but it was like if you attacked in a certain situation, like from each side of the player, it would give you then a bonus effect, which I was like, that's a very cool way to do. I don't know how they would track it. Like this isn't like how would the devs pull this off? It's just more of the creative idea behind it. So, but I do like the concept of if you could do it, it gives you like a bonus, buff. So it actually incentivizes a skill play. The utilities would be hex skills, but yeah, definitely worth hearing and checking out. And actually, I think right before the show, I just didn't have a time to see it. I think she put out another video, which was like re-looking at the Dragon Hunter, like maybe trying to rebuild it. I honestly, like I said, I didn't have a chance to watch it, but while you're there, you might as well go check it out. I mean,
here's how you rebuild Dragon Hunter. Get rid of it.
Ouch. They should just do that with Thief.
Because we disappear with stealth.
Yeah, unfortunately, you just come back. Especially at the last 2 minutes of the new PvP map, apparently.
Well, all of you guys complained about us perma-stealthing, so ArenaNet got rid of that with reveal. So you're welcome.
Darn. But yeah, I think that is it for this week. So, Jim, where can they find you?
I can be found on Twitter at MalthanusMMO. You can also find me here on twitch.tv/MAADrealms. That's 2 A's in the MAAD every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Eastern time for random shit. I just like to stream now. Like it used to be 0 to Hero. That was PvP and Guild Wars 2. The new rank season is starting on the 13th. Maybe I need to start placing again. Maybe I'll give that a shot. Maybe I'll throw out a poll for the class that I play later tonight. Just check my Twitter. You'll see it there. So hope to see you around on Wednesdays.
Awesome. And Age, where can they find you?
Twitch.tv Edge Night Road. I am in hiatus mode. There's stuff and things. If you are in the Seattle area for the announcement thing, I'll be there. So say hi. Stuff. That's all I got.
Awesome. Maybe that guy at the beginning could test his theory about Guild Wars 2 players are huggable and ticklish. No, don't do that. Don't randomly go up to people and hug them and tickle them.
At least tell me beforehand before you attempt that.
But yeah, be nice to people. Is that all?
Yeah, I'm working on site stuff if anyone's interested in that.
Hopefully we'll have some more features and stuff coming along.
Yeah.
But Awesome. We were talking about it a little bit before pre-show, which is why after you follow me at simply_Deo and stuff, you should show up live to the shows. This is where we'll talk to people before and after. We do an after show where we'll probably continue the conversation. I know it's still lively in chat as to Gem Store just brings out the best in people. But yeah, if you are watching this, or if you are here and you're like, oh, I missed the show, like I said, stick around for an after show. But also, we put it up on YouTube on Sundays at 9 a.m. Pacific time, noon Eastern. But it's always going to be on our website, just maadrealms.com, 2 A's in the MAAD. And that goes up usually at the same time, along with our other shows and stuff. But that is the only place right now where you can get the audio version of this podcast. But if you want to make it out to the live show, twitch.tv/maadrealms. And I think that is it for this week. So we'll see everybody next time and in the game. Good night, everybody.
Bye, friends.
Bye, guys.